Welcome to the Porsche Club Insider, your one stop for all things Porsche and PCA. Here's your host, Vu Nguyen, and the Insider crew.
Thank you for joining us. It's episode 54. We're at the PCA National Headquarters. I'm around the table with Manny Albin, Damon Lowney, and Robert Forsyth is at the controls. How's everyone doing?
Been a quick week for me.
Yeah, you guys have, we'll get into some of the fun things you've been into the past couple of days. I'm going to start with my disappointment, because you promised me something yesterday and we were hoping to talk about it today, but we're still waiting for FedEx to arrive.
Yes, FedEx has let us down big time. It was supposed to, our Kringles were supposed to come yesterday, overnighted.
Oh, yeah.
I guess FedEx doesn't understand what overnight means.
Oh, my goodness. Oh, my goodness. I hope they're so good. I hope they're not being consumed by the driver.
But it says out for delivery. So,
out for delivery. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, we're looking for, yesterday I was standing by the door watching every car go by like a kid at
I had
Christmas.
my coffee ready and nothing. Nothing. Everyone in the office excited about them. And
But thank goodness there was a backup, because Laura came in to celebrate Pie Day.
we didn't. Did you pick the pie or?
She picked the pie.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so it was like a chocolate pie. So at first I was like, well, I don't want to ruin my palate because the Kringles are coming, but I couldn't avoid it, so I had a slice. So we spread it across 2 days, so maybe it did work out. All right, so I just want to make sure, a little housekeeping here. If you enjoy the episode, please be sure to click like. Love seeing your comments, and of course subscribe if you're watching on YouTube. It always, I'm always surprised at how far of a reach our podcast has, and I want to thank those that are listening in Taiwan, those that are listening in Croatia, those that are listening in South Africa, and even in Portugal, to name a few. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, I wonder if Monte Remats is watching out in Croatia, right?
Well, I do know that Mark Johnson and Timothy Arrington are watching, and I want to thank them. Mark wrote in when we were asking about what do people use to get rid of those no-seums, or they call them flying teeth or something, as he said. So he recommended this product called Avon Skin So Soft. What a nice
To
name.
deal with it afterwards, or to prevent them from biting at the beginning?
It's a repellent.
Okay.
It's a repellent.
Yeah, we're buying a lot of that
Yes.
because that's
I'm
going to
gonna
be
bathe in
Amelia
it.
Allen's mascot is the no-see-em.
I'm going to bathe in it. And then Timothy shared, we were talking about in the last episode, my idea of caffeinated lollipops. And he says his treat of choice for long drives is actually, and I've had this before, but I didn't think about it. It's chocolate-covered coffee beans.
Yeah, that would be good.
That'd be pretty good. That'd be kind of like crunchy Raisinets, right?
Yeah, I mean, if the caffeine, works well enough, right? You just, if you're looking for something to do, like, open up a sunflower seed.
Yeah.
It might not exactly work if you're immune to caffeine.
Oh, yeah. And that's a lot of calories. If
Yeah.
you're
Unless you just eat the
downing
whole thing, right? The whole
Anyways,
bin.
well, appreciate you sharing with us your thoughts. So it's been cold here in DC. I haven't been able to do much car stuff, but I was able to add to my 1/18th scale collection 2 cars that were recently purchased. One is my GTS America, thanks to Abe and Michael Tam. Got a heads up on that availability. And then while I was at Amelia Island, I picked up, I don't have any 964s. So I came across this 964 RWB from People Cars.
You still don't have a 964.
I don't have a stock 964. I now have a modified RWB 964 added to the collection. So that's all the car stuff that I unfortunately got to do. Yeah, you guys did some fun stuff. Aside from going into the trip that you had, any other car stuff this past couple days?
No.
That was a fill though,
nothing.
right?
I got home on Sunday, and I was actually looking forward just to veg out in front of the TV, but my wife said, I got a surprise. We're going to have early dinner, and then we're going to go watch a movie.
Oh, boy.
And I thought, oh, my God, this is a
Can I
nice
guess?
theater.
Can I guess? you saw a little bit of the beginning, a little bit of the end, and nothing in between.
I think I dozed off maybe for a minute.
That's it?
It was the Ant-Man movie.
Yeah.
And the quantum
I don't know.
theory or physics or something like that. Quantumanium. Thank you, Robert.
So theaters these days, if you haven't been to a theater recently, man, they have the most comfortable seats. Some of them are individual. Some of them are like love seats. And most of them recline. They're leather. It's nice and cold.
Oh, I love it. Yeah.
It's dark. It's probably the most comfortable seating you could ever have. However, that makes you want to go to sleep. Like maybe because we are all here at the table. We suffer from, what is it called? Sleep deficiency, or we have sleep deprivation. Thank you, Robert. See, that's why he's in our ear, making sure the show moves along. But yeah, it's a challenge to stay awake at a movie theater.
Yeah, well, you got to find a movie you like first.
I know.
We'll see if Ant-Man actually is a good movie.
I know. I was thinking about. It's called sleep debt. All of us have sleep debt. Yeah. So, before we get into your trip, I had this question that was asked of me because, I say this all the time. We're very fortunate to be in, the car community that we're in. But the question was, where did it all start for you? So, of course, for me, I go back to when I was a kid. I've always loved cars, but was there, so I want to pose it to you guys here, including Robert, what car, if you think back, started it all for you? And it could be an actual car, a toy, something you saw on TV. What was it that kind of started you on this automotive journey?
Well, I guess I'll go first, and it's the car. If you're looking at the screen on YouTube, it's a little red Tyco Fast Tracks, which has like tank treads, like rubber treads, so it can go pretty much anywhere. And this was so I was born in 1988. This was probably 1991, 1992.
Did you get this as a birthday gift? Or?
So no, it was a Christmas gift.
Christmas gift, okay.
And so I didn't really know what cars were, except that you drove around in them, and I liked fast cars. So this was kind of the first RC car I ever got that I asked for Christmas, and it was really, really fast for an RC car that was like Tyco.
Yeah.
And it started from there on out. Every year I asked for an RC car from Santa.
Oh, that's
so
cool.
I built up 10, 15 RC cars over the years, and this one, the Fast Tracks, was always the fastest. No other car until I got to like the Team Associated, and Team Low C, sort of the big boy cars, would ever go quite as fast. And then somewhere in between getting that Fast Tracks and those Team Associated, those bigger, faster cars, I was introduced to Porsche by my aunt and uncle. So it wasn't Porsche, it wasn't a real car, it was just a little Tyco RC car.
That started the passion, yeah.
Yep.
And for those of you that are, that you have young ones as well that maybe want to introduce them to the automotive world, like building an RC car is probably one of the best things that you can do. They have some great kits that companies now, a lot of companies make ready to run cars, which are ones where you just put the battery and go. But there's still companies that Tamiya is one of them that I can think of off the top of my head. HPI and a couple other ones, Low C's, and they're still out there. But those are the ones where they come in like, I want to say 500 pieces, and you just take your time building them. But what's nice is you can learn how an actual shock works. You can learn how setting an alignment on a car, the different motors, the different batteries, and all that kind of stuff. Like, you can learn a lot of vehicle things with an RC car. So if you have someone that you think you might want to send down that path, consider an RC car. Robert, I'm going to go to you. What was your car that started? Oh, the Countach at 14. Very nice choice. So I definitely remember that car. Probably the opening scene from Cannonball Run. That's probably when most of us saw that car. And
was that the black one with like the bajillion tailpipes?
Yeah. That was awesome, and it was outrunning the police cars and doing shenanigans. How about you, Manny?
I wonder if the soundtrack was really that of the Lamborghini.
I don't know. That's a good question. It sounded legit.
It was as real as many of those exhaust pipes were real. Right.
Well, in the movie, I think it had the actual 4 exhaust pipes.
It had 4?
Yeah.
Maybe I'm thinking of something else.
Yeah, it was stock. It was a stock car. Yeah. but this, I mean, seeing the doors that swing up, and you know, it was for its day, and still today, it's such a forward-looking car. And even though, even if it's not truly as aerodynamic as it looks, it still just looks so cool. And well, there's one here in the Maryland, D.C. area that's at Katie's Cars and Coffee. I think it's a white one that.
Yeah, I've seen that before.
You've seen that one? Yeah.
Years ago.
It's still like, I still, yeah, that car looks so cool.
Yeah.
How about you, Manny? What started it for you?
A slot car set. It was a
slot car.
917 slot car set. And I used to, maybe I was 10 years old or something, but it had headlights that lit up. And
Very
I would set it up to where they would run by themselves. You just put like a rubber band on the controller at a certain speed so they wouldn't fly off the track. And I would just pretend I was at Le Mans because it was at nighttime. And I thought that was the coolest thing, that cars raced at night. And I think that was the beginning of what got me interested in cars and Porsche. And
for those of you that aren't watching on YouTube, it's a Gulf livery 917, and it's interesting that the tires in the back are white.
Yeah, I think they were stickier in the rear than the front. HO scale, it was.
So slot cars growing up, like that was pretty common. Probably not common for you, Damon.
Yeah.
But there are actually hobby shops that had big slot car tracks that we would go to, and you know, they would have, I guess, leagues or whatever you want to call it.
I remember in the mid-'90s, I belonged to a league near the house that raced slot cars, and they were pretty hardcore.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, everything was built up on the cars. Everything was modified, and on these little HO scale cars.
So shout out to the Chesapeake region. They still have a slot car night. And so, you know, back in the day, I raced slot cars as well. And when I heard that Chesapeake region was doing a slot car night, I was like, oh, I'm going to bring my A game. And I didn't realize like they weren't like super serious about it. So I bought a 550 Spider, and I took it all apart, and I changed out the magnets, I changed out the motor. I know. And I showed up, and they're like, that car is not stock. I'm like, oh, I didn't realize we can't modify, because it was just like lapping people.
That's funny.
I remember Bob Gutjahr one time. He had a car. I think the brand was Fly, and it went off the track. And when I went to put it back on, it like grabbed the track. So I picked it back up, got a piece of spare track, put it on there, and then I put it upside down. And I looked at him. I said, "How do you explain this?"
Whoops.
He was like, "What? It's stock."
It's stock. Yeah.
Right. Underneath that was all these extra magnets that he put on it.
Yeah, slot cars, like RC cars too, is, you know, there's a lot of different things that you can do to, you know, lower it, get the magnet closer to the track, get different motors, different tires.
The only thing worse than that and cheating that I remember was the Cub Scouts and Pinewood Derby.
Oh, I never did that.
Oh my God, you could. When my kids were going for Cub Scouts, I remember then the internet was around, so you start Googling, and there were so many places that sold cheater parts, but you could get balanced. The axles were just nails. But you would get balanced axles where they were perfectly round, if you will. The same thing with the wheels and bodies that were already done up for you, and with lead put inside of them.
Oh my
and
gosh.
out them in places. Yeah, I thought, man, I was club racing at the time, and I thought these guys would put club racers to shame when it comes to ways you could cheat in Pinewood Derby. Because the key was the car had to run on 3 wheels because it was less resistance.
Oh,
so you would have to balance it so it would run.
So it has 4 wheels.
It looks like the 4th wheel is touching, but it's not.
But it's
you're
not.
trying to reduce as much resistance, while keeping it straight. Yeah, it was very. I used to always think that what they should do is just give these kids a kit, give them 1 hour to build it by themselves, then race them.
Oh, as opposed to bringing one already.
Oh yeah, they would show up, and like if you were to ask the kid how he built it, he would look at his father, because you could tell the dad did all the machine work and paint work. And
you know, speaking of Derby, one thing that as a kid I wish I had the opportunity, and I don't even know if they do them anymore, is a Soapbox Derby racing, where you just like build a car, strap, get in, and go down a hill, and hopefully you stop. Like, do they even do those?
Did you ever try to squeeze in one of those?
Huh?
Did you ever try to fit in one of those? Have you seen one in person?
No.
Okay.
Yeah. So, do they still do those things anymore?
Well, they do it, I think, in Indiana.
Indiana.
What was that movie? Wasn't it like the Little Rascals or something? And
yeah, like that's
that's all I can think of.
They do it in Indiana where the 500 is. I think that's where I believe. I'm sure they do it in other places, but obviously you got to have a nice hill.
Yeah.
But I thought the championships that's also a thing where
I'm sure it's like the what you were just talking about is
companies are building. I think
fiberglass bodies.
I don't think Porsche got into soapbox racing, but something similar. And I think Mercedes and a bunch of them did something similar where they were running these kind of soapbox cars that had no power source. They were just using.
I know what you're talking about. I've seen those before.
Yeah.
So as an adult now, obviously, I'm not going to go into a soapbox derby race, but I do love watching. I think it's promoted by Red Bull, and it's like people have these themed cars, and they go down and they crash into these bales of hay. That looks like a lot of fun.
I can watch that all day long.
Yeah.
Or it's flying off the. It's that annual race where they try and build a plane.
Oh
Go into the water.
Yeah.
Yeah, the one that goes down, the one that stays on the land the whole time and goes through a course.
Right.
And I like it because they're all so confident at the beginning.
Yeah.
And then midway through,
this will work.
It's almost like life. It's like you're so confident, and midway through you realize you made a wrong decision, and then you're paying for it the rest of the way down.
Oh yeah. And then when they go flying out of their car, it's fun to watch. All right, so for my car, cars has always been a part of my life, but when someone asked me that question, thinking about a real car that really made an impression on me, because up to this point most of the cars in our family were kind of like daily driver or just like family cars, nothing like sporty or anything like that, until my uncle graduated from college and got his first engineering job, and he went out and bought a Scirocco S.
Nice.
And that thing to me was just like, ooh, so cool, because it was sporty. It had like this cool steering wheel,
one wiper.
It had one wiper. It had the white lettering on the tires.
Golf ball stick shift.
The dashboard, over the gauges, I always remember like the plastic over the gauges was kind of pointed. It's so futuristic. And so at the time, my parents lived in Mobile, Alabama, but my grandparents lived in New Orleans. And my uncle, I forget why the reason was, like my parents had went ahead or something like that, but they asked my uncle to pick me up and take me to New Orleans. I'm like, cool, get to ride in Uncle's Scirocco. And I don't think he can get in trouble because this was so long ago, but you take I-10 basically from Mobile to New Orleans. It's just a straight shot. It's like a straight shot for the longest time. So we're in the car, heading out, and then like half an hour into it, he's like, "You want to drive?" And I'm like, I think at the time I was probably 8 years old, not even 8 years old, maybe 7 years old. And so I just climbed into his lap. He obviously did the controls with the speed and brakes and stuff like that, and he let me hold on to that steering wheel for at least an hour or 2 hours.
Wow.
And I'm sure we passed people. I'm sure we passed police officers.
Yeah, right.
But I don't remember like it being an issue, like him telling me to go back in my seat. And I got to drive on I-10 for the longest. And I remember my hands would start sweating because I was so nervous, and he would take over the steering wheel and I put my hands over the air conditioning just to dry them off, and I continue to drive. But anyways, that car probably had one of the biggest impacts on me because it was like the first cool car. It also was the first car that taught me a detailing faux pas, which is my uncle loved the car, got the car, wanted to keep it nice and new, put a fresh coat of wax on it, and like I think the week he bought it, he went to whatever AutoZone was called back then, and he thought he bought wax, but he bought compound.
Uh-oh.
And he started to compound the car, and some of the stripe came off, and some like luckily it didn't like do a big mess, but it was bad. Like he was
it's a big whoopsie.
Pretty big whoopsie. So I always now from that point I've always respected compound versus wax.
Oh yeah.
All right, so let's get into. I was so jealous that you guys got to take the trip south to the Revs Institute.
Yeah, no, that was a fun trip. It was for a panorama article that Manny is writing, and then when we realized we were this, I guess the scope of what the article and video were going to become, we realized let's hire the big guns, and we hired a couple of videographers that we use And good thing we did, because we had 15 cars to film there.
Now, where is the Revs Institute?
It's in Naples, Florida. And Mr. Collier, Miles Collier, is the owner of it. And I believe it opens a couple days per week to the public. You have to make reservations to go there. And then 150 volunteer docents.
And is it a all Porsche collection?
Not all Porsche.
No. Okay.
In fact, it's probably only, Porsche is probably the biggest single mark represented there.
Okay.
But probably, I don't know, a quarter of the cars are probably
I'd say
Porsche.
the minority is American cars.
Okay.
Very
Yeah.
few
Okay.
American cars. I heard one of the docents say, my specialty was always muscle cars, and I thought that's what this museum had. And then I come here and find out that my muscle car knowledge isn't going to be much use.
Yep. To their credit, they had a couple crazy Cadillac Le Mans cars. And I'm not
Cunningham.
Briggs Cunningham car. I'm not too familiar with pre-war and older classic American muscle and race cars, but there was some cool stuff there. Corvettes, the Stingrays, C2s, race cars, some really cool stuff. But a quarter of it, I would probably say, dedicated to Porsche. It's a big museum, so that's still a lot. Probably, I don't know, probably 20, 30-something Porsches in that whole museum.
Now, is it display only, or do they work on cars?
No, they all run.
They all run?
Yep.
Wow.
Yep. And they take some of the engines out, it looks like. I don't know if, the 914 6GT that was there, the engine was sitting next to the car, so there was no engine in the car. Not sure if all the cars are quite like that, but there are engines sitting out there, so if you wanted to see what a 91710 turbocharged engine looked like, there is one there.
They have a full restoration shop on premises. A complete shop.
Paint shop and everything.
And they had a work, which I was showing you pictures of, which I think would be great for us. They had a workflow chart I was looking at in their in the restoration room. It had all the tasks that needed to be done, and some of them were just exercise vehicle, which vehicle they had to exercise, and who was going to do it, and it looked like a monthly rotation of cars that they would exercise.
So for those of you that are just listening audio only, if you get a chance, you might want to listen to this section on YouTube, because there are some nice photos that Damon's sharing, and of course we're gonna have the full video later that you can check out.
Yeah, so this video, it went from basically we're going to film and shoot this whole thing, this video and an article at the Collier collection, to we're going to shoot all the cars, 15 cars that detail 1951 with the 356 SL all the way to 1971 when Porsche dominated at Le Mans, and what happened in those intervening 20 years. We've decided that it deserves a bit more, so we'll be talking to a couple other people who are experts in the field about the different eras of cars that we're profiling. But it should be quite a good long documentary video later in the year before Rennsport. It's kind of in celebration of Porsche's 75th year.
So I see a lot of photos of Porsches, but I do see this amazing VW Beetle.
Yeah, that was very cool. That was like kept in the back.
Yeah.
And this is where actually we stored our gear for the next day, because the public was coming. So the guys there, who I got to say, the people at the Revs were very gracious and helped us with anything we needed. They because we were there Friday, and Friday they were closed, but the employees were there, so we had the run of the whole Porsche wing
without
to ourselves.
any people getting in the way.
Peterson was there filming as well, actually.
Oh, really?
So we got to meet some videographers.
There was no patrons coming to look at the cars, so we were pretty much by ourselves. And near the end of the day, when we were packing up our stuff to come back the next morning, he said, "Store it in here." So we see this Beetle, and I started walking up, looking at it, and I could see that it had 12-volt lights, but the fenders weren't from a '67, which is when they began the 12-volt lights. And I asked him, I said, is it a 67 that's been modified? He goes, this whole thing's been modified. Take a look.
Yeah.
And he took us to the back of it, and it has a flat 2-liter engine on it, built by Jake Raby.
Yeah, it's a very unique engine. I think I've seen
fan.
this engine on his Facebook, and there's something really special about it, how that the belt kind of curves around and goes to the top of the
That's
fan.
almost like a Corvair.
Man,
Corvair has almost the same setup with that belt design. So this was Miles Collier's personal car.
Like back in the day?
No, everything's runnable. So,
I'm not sure how long he's had this car.
Oh, okay.
But I just thought it was a Beetle, very nice
window,
Beetle.
Oval window, Speedster seats.
Yep.
Has 356, or maybe was it early 911 brakes.
Wow.
Suspension.
Yeah, so I texted. Cool. We've worked with Jake before, and so I texted him and said, "Hey, I've seen your car. You know, one of the ones I've seen on social media that he builds.
Oil filler."
He said that this is more Porsche than Beetle.
Beetle.
Yeah, this is definitely more Porsche than Beetle.
It's tastefully done. And it's like you can tell it's kind of special, and you notice that it is modified, but it's not like over the top modified. It still looks very vintage.
No, it's definitely a sleeper. I mean, if that pulled up next to you, you would think it was a regular stock Beetle. There's nothing. And then there's no more vents on the deck lid or anything. It's all. It's all stock. That's why it kind of threw me off what I was looking at.
Yeah.
Just the headlights is what gave it away, because that's not an old style headlight. And
imagine 200 horsepower and probably what, 1,500 pounds or something?
That, yeah.
Yeah, it would be the original Herbie.
Yeah.
It would be pretty cool.
So what Porsche really caught your eye, or you haven't ever seen in person before?
I think I've seen most of those cars at shows. I don't know if I saw their 914 6GT ever at a show, and that was the one that was part of the poster called it's the Marathon de la Route, which was an 84-hour race at the Nürburgring. And I know Brian Redman, who was our one of the drivers we interviewed, he had never raced in that race, but Vic Elford did. And I remember Vic telling us about the fact they raced for 84 hours. Think about that. That is like insane.
84 hours of anything.
This isn't like you race during a day and then you go back. This is the whole time they're racing for 84 hours. It makes 24 hours seem like a practice. And so anyways, the famous shot is on the posters. You have the 914s winning, I think, 1, 2, 3. And so this is one of the cars that won that race. And we did, Bob Miller's, he had that 914 6GT, which, did we come out with that video yet?
Yes, we did. Okay. Yeah, a few weeks ago.
So that details what makes a 914 6GT. And they showed in the video we filmed, he showed the balsa wood. And
did it have that roll bar extended into the trunk?
No, it didn't. No. You know what else we learned actually during that interview is that those 914 6GTs, they didn't necessarily come from the factory like that. They were bought as kits and then put together. So,
well, some of them, some did come from the factory, and then some were.
Interesting.
Okay.
Interesting.
Yeah, you could buy them from the U.S. dealers.
Yeah,
and put them on. So that's why there's so many out there. So people ask for the provenance of where they came from, who built them, whether it was a factory. I think the one at the Colliers was a factory built car. But yeah, there's like the guy in California, he has one, but that's not a factory built car. That was a kit that they bought, and you converted your 914-6.
So without ruining your video,
I don't think it'll ruin the video. There's still a lot to go.
Yeah. So I guess my question is, how did Mr. Collier start? Like, why did he get into Porsches? Why did he create a museum?
You know what's funny is I asked that question, and here's me, just cameras and lights everywhere, and I forget. I don't remember. I have to go.
Well, a lot of times when I'm interviewing people, I don't.
Yeah, you don't remember exactly.
I don't hear the answer because I'm thinking about the next question.
That makes everyone being interviewed feel really good. By the way,
it's just.
I'll let people know when I interview you, I'm listening to every word.
I'm
you're
listening,
saying.
but
I'm not. I'll tell you straight up.
He got started. His family has always been in the cars.
Oh, okay.
So he was kind of like. Genetically, it was born into him. It wasn't something that he discovered. His family hadn't discovered. I believe his father raced. It was he raced himself. Miles did. Brother
in Porsches, or what did you know where he raced in?
He actually, his father, I believe, raced with Briggs Cunningham. That's how the whole Briggs. Why is it they have so many Briggs Cunningham cars there at Le Mans, and so it's just. Like Miles said, it was just natural for him to pick up on these cars. For his graduation from high school, he got a Bally Blue 356C.
What?
Yeah, beautiful, and he has it on display. It's
he still has it?
It's the longest owning original 356.
Wow!
Original,
all the sport options.
It was funny because I heard one of the docents say, "Yeah, it's a special GL blue." And I thought, really? So it's like a PTS color, special color they painted back then. So when I saw Miles later, I asked him, I said, is that a special blue? And he laughed. He goes, no, it's just Bally Blue.
Bally Blue.
I said, because I heard something about Yale Blue. He goes, it's close to Yale Blue, but no, he goes, it was just Bally Blue when we ordered it.
But he's the original owner, Still has it. And
he wanted. Well, he had some unique things in the sense that it had no front hood. I guess grab handle.
Okay.
So I thought it was a GT hood because it was all smooth.
Smoothed out.
I thought it was aluminum hood, but no, he just specified he didn't want anything on the front of the hood.
Yeah.
Had big fog lights, like 8-inch fog lights on the front. Had some other suspension goodies on it. But that's as original as you can get. Now it's in the museum. So that's not
Very
a bad
cool.
18th
I know, right?
birthday graduation from high school
pretty cool.
gift. So his family's always, and he's always been into cars.
So one of the cars I saw in the photos, a name that we're very familiar with in this region, but normally it's like on a burgundy car, and this was a white car, and it's the Bruce Jennings Speedster. I didn't realize.
Bruce Jennings, not Bruce Jenner. A lot of people
Bruce
get
Jennings.
that confused. I remember when I first joined PCA, I heard people talk about Bruce Jennings, and I'm like, really? The decathlete? and it's two different people. Yeah, he was called King Carrera because he drove Carrera Speedsters. And he's legendary in the sense that he actually had 3 Speedsters, I remember Heinz Bada, his engine builder, telling me, and they were all geared differently, depending on if it's a long course, a short course. And it wasn't unusual for Bruce to be at a track, not be happy with the gearing, drive the car back home to Maryland,
Switch out,
show right back up, switch to the text sticker on his windshield. And since it was the exact same paint, same color, everything with numbers, the scrutineers never knew that he came back the next day with a different car with different gearing. But they were all Carrera Speedsters. And so this was one that wasn't the burgundy.
Yeah.
It still had the Reason to their side badge, still had the 77 on it, C production.
Recently restored, I think, is what they were saying.
It was a beautiful example of a speedster that a big part of U.S. history for road racing and Porsche.
Wow!
And what I thought was really cool, there was a picture of Bruce driving a 911 at Mid Ohio in 1984, and his mechanic or crew chief was Kevin Jeanette.
Yeah. Oh, wow.
Yeah, I was like,
That's
wow.
Cool.
I'm like, this is a pretty interesting. I didn't realize Kevin was
small world
involved with Bruce in the 80s.
Yeah. So how many videos do you think will come out of this visit?
Don't know yet.
A lot of footage. I mean, you guys were there, what, 2 days?
We were there. Well, we filmed one day, and then the second day, we had to wait around a lot for an interview that was that afternoon. So we filmed a little bit in the morning, and then came back at around 3 p.m., but definitely one long video that's probably going to be in the half an hour to an hour range.
Nice.
And then potentially we might come out with little snippets on each car.
Yeah.
Not as a YouTube short, but shorter style videos about those cars. So we'll see. There's a lot of footage. Don't know exactly what's going to happen with all of it, but we will be getting one.
Right now, the working title in the article for Pano is called a blink of an eye. Because it seemed like the blink of an eye, Porsche went from this small family-owned company that was working out of a sawmill in Austria to winning the greatest road race on earth, which is 24 Hours Le Mans. And most companies take 50 years before they can even be competitive at Le Mans, but Porsche was able to do it on a very shoestring budget. And the story and hopefully the video will chronicle that journey of how they managed to go from, with a small crew of people in 51 all the way to the big dog in 1970.
Yeah, I should say Bogdan was there as well to be the photographer for the magazine article, but also got a lot of footage and photos for social media. So we'll be seeing a lot of. You probably have already seen.
He already dropped a couple of.
Yep.
So can we expect to see some of these cars at Rennsport?
Yes.
Oh yeah, like 4 or 5, I think they said.
Yeah.
Not all of them, but
Nice.
But they all run. And so they had a 917K on display that was literally put away wet. It was
race and then just put away.
Yeah, but they still run it.
Oh,
it's
wow.
not something that hasn't been run for years. They still run the car. It's but they just leave it as is. They don't restore it. I don't think they clean it. It's
Race
just,
patina.
A lot of racing. The whole. I've never seen the front end so pitted. The fiberglass.
Yeah.
But he said that's the way they finished 24-hour races. Is it was pretty beat up.
excuse me. So not only do I think people cherish that patina, but if you're a serious 1/18th scale or even 1/43rd scale diecast model collector, many of the collections now, these race cars are, they have fake patina, race patina on these cars, and you can collect them in sort of how they finish the race as opposed to a perfectly clean race car.
Yep.
So yeah, people definitely love seeing the dirt.
Pretty sure we've seen that 917 at a Rennsport or at some vintage race.
Yeah.
I want to say
What happened at this museum, and this is going to happen at Rennsport too, and it's going to happen for a lot of people, is that there's so much to see that you don't know what to look at first. And this was just a handful of cars compared to what we're going to see at Rennsport.
Yeah.
And you wish you would have a docent to walk you around to tell you, here's one that's very important in the history of Porsche, because they're all in their own right significant cars. I mean, we walk right by 911R.
Yeah.
Well, 911R looks like a regular 911 in this company.
It's, well, just like any art museum, right? To have a docent to truly understand what you're looking at and how significant, it makes the whole experience different, right? And so much better.
Yeah. And once again, the crew there was so helpful for us. They look great in their uniforms, by the way. They were very sharp.
We're looking right now on YouTube. This is kind of a funny thing. So in the foreground, we have Pedro, who's driven all these cars, basically, maybe except for one, holding up the 908 Langhex tail. And then on the other side of him, you can't see him very well, is a guy named Damon holding up the tail.
Oh, you got to hold up the tail?
Yeah. Well, no, different Damon.
Oh, a different Damon.
And there was a Damien.
Yeah.
Damien.
So I've met less than 10 Damons in my whole life.
Oh, wow.
And here was one at the Revs Institute. So had to point that out. I thought it was kind of funny.
Anything that we needed lifted up or engine, they would. And this was the most difficult to lift up, but they did it for us so we could get footage. And this is the one that Brian Redmond drove. This is the long-tail 908, so it almost looks like a early 917. And he was at Spa, and he was supposed to drive the 917, but he knew the 908 was more reliable, and so he pulled rank and said, I want to drive the 908, not the 917, which turned out to be a great decision because the car would win.
Yeah. He set a speed record there, I believe, one lap at 145 point something miles an hour.
Yeah.
Wow.
Average speed,
when you think about average speed at Spa.
Yeah. Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much to Mr. Collier and the crew at the Revs Institute for taking the time to share with you all. I'm looking forward to the videos, and I'm looking forward to seeing the cars at Rennsport. And I need to make sure I have one of you next to me so I can truly understand what I'm looking at.
And
all
if
these
you're
cars.
in that area, Naples or Fort Myers, it's worth it to go online to see when they're open and buy some tickets. They actually had like 350 people come Saturday.
Oh, wow.
Yep.
So they told us we could come early on Saturday to record some more, but the people would be it would open at 10. And they said we're expecting a lot, and I thought a lot might mean 20 people.
Yeah.
When he said 350, I'm like, my God, really?
There you go.
Yeah. When you have to reserve ahead of time.
Yeah, he
Can't
said
just
it's
walk
all
out.
sold out.
Wow.
Yep.
You don't just show up and say, I want to see the museum.
Okay.
But they have very knowledgeable docents. And I would encourage people who go ask any questions about the cars, because you'll hear interesting stories about each one and understand the history better. And they have a very thorough collection above and beyond just the Porsche. It's
I'm definitely going to have to.
a lot of
put
Grand
that
Prix
in
cars from the
my bucket
30s.
list.
It's very cool. You could spend. How did somebody say? We told our wives to drop us off, and they came back 3 hours later and see we're done, and we're like, we're not done yet.
Wow. All right, so let's move on. I see next on the list you have here is the Porsche annual report.
Yeah, so Porsche is one happy company. They gave their annual report, and evidently Oliver Bloom's going to be the CEO of the year, I think. Remember, Oliver Bloom is also the CEO of VW. So he has hit a home run with the Porsche's annual report, 18% average profit margin, which still isn't enough. They're going to shoot for 20%.
What was it? I think
profit.
like a car manufacturer is happy over the moon to have 14 or 15%.
Yeah.
Which is usually what Porsche has, I think. So they had a great year.
Yeah, they huge operating profit of more than $7 billion last year.
Wow. So what does that mean to car shoppers?
That means prices are going up next year.
Everything is going up.
So I'll say we had a 2022 Cayenne Turbo GT, whose base price, man, I'm going to get this wrong. I want to say, well, I won't have the base price. I'll just say that the 2023 model is about $9,000 more than the 2022 model, and the Cayenne Platinum Edition, like $2,020-something more than 2022. So.
And so they also announced the EV versions are coming out. We know the Macan, the 718, and the Cayenne. But the key is they're going to transition, meaning that, and I know we've had members email asking if they should run out and buy their 718 Cayman because this is it. They're going to have the EVs are going to sell alongside the gas.
Right. So you can choose your power plant, so to speak.
Yeah, exactly.
So I thought it was so I don't want to introduce wrong info. Correct me if I'm wrong, but the Macan gas and electric will sell side by side. The Cayenne gas and electric will sell side by side.
But I think Cayman and
Boxer. The 718
is...
Cayman and Boxer, it's a hard switch.
It says you'll still be able to get a regular gas version of the upcoming Macan, 718, and Cayenne.
Okay,
really?
Never mind. I thought I had read elsewhere.
I know what you're saying, Damon, because I thought that was the case, but maybe
I think
they
originally
realized
they planned maybe to do that.
Yeah,
but I think because
too much blowback or something.
Once again, the transition maybe a shock to the system. I think they want to show the performance capability of the new 718, and that people may say, well, heck, I gotta buy this. And
I think the transition, again, we all love internal combustion engine, but when you comes down to performance, and say what you will about plugging in and power and stuff like that, but more than likely the 718 electric version is probably going to blow the doors off of an ICE 718.
I'm just going to say Model 3 performance driven well at an autocross is a top time of day car.
I know.
Think about a 718.
Exactly.
Lower center of gravity,
if you're talking
smaller.
about pure performance, it's going to be tough to beat. So, but kudos to them for continuing to carry a product that the public's asking for. So
I just want them to I'm glad that they're making a lot of money. I'm glad that the manufacturer is so financially solvent. I want to see him win on the racetrack.
No doubt.
So next podcast we'll be talking about. By the time you listen to this podcast, you will have known how they did at Sebring.
Yeah, because you're going to be the man on the scene, right?
Yeah, I'm leaving this afternoon to go down to cover the WEC 10-hour race on Friday, and then the 12-hour race, the IMSA race on Saturday.
Florida, so 3 or 4 separate times in like 4 weeks.
I know.
Wow.
Manny's going to kill me because I'm also sending him to California for Rennsport.
Oh, man. Yeah, that was an interesting surprise.
Yeah.
24-hour turnaround.
So I caught part of this conversation, and I guess if you can share it appropriately, you were talking something about Friday's race versus like Saturday's race this weekend. Like
so it's the Penske team that's running. That's a factory team. There's also the Hertz Jota team. Jota, I don't know if I'm pronouncing it right, that's running WEC. They have a really cool Hertz livery with the Tom Brady sponsorship.
The gold one?
Yeah. So they're running the WEC race, World Endurance Championship.
Which is Friday.
Friday, right. Yeah. Unfortunately, WEC still doesn't get it. And you'd think they would learn from Drive to Survive and what it did for F1 in the U.S. They need to sell themselves to Americans to get the interest. I think they think because they're popular in Europe, Americans immediately are going to follow them, and most people have no idea that this race is going on
Friday,
or they're thoroughly confused as to the fact there's 2 different teams running, even though it's all Penske, even though the cars are identical, and they even have the same livery. It's different drivers and different.
Penske Europe,
teams.
Penske US, right?
Exactly.
I see.
The only place where I think they're going to race together is here in Sebring, because they're not racing at Coda. So,
which is why it's kind of a cool weekend.
Yes, exactly. For the money, you can get past the partying. It's St. Patrick's Day on Friday or Saturday.
Was it? You're not allowed to go to the green zone.
What am I going to do in the green zone?
I was going to say you got to wear like rain boots anytime you walk near it, right? So it doesn't like run off.
I hardly drink anything. So.
Yeah, right.
But I thought to myself, this is the perfect storm. Sebring with St. Patty's Day.
Oh my gosh! Wow.
But yeah, so it's hard to find. You got to like pay this $70 or $60 subscription fee to be able to watch it, to stream it through this app. The WEC race. Oh, no. The 12 hours, I think, is a little bit easier. That's through Peacock, which is not that expensive if you want to buy that subscription service. But yeah, the WEC doesn't make it easy to watch them. But they will be racing on Friday, and so far the weather looks good. Porsche, they're running fifth. The BOP, the balance of performance, changed a little bit in their favor. Toyota pulled some phenomenal numbers. Toyota's probably the most organized and best experienced. So unless something catastrophic happens to them, they'll probably be the favored. But I think we'd all like to see the 963s become more competitive.
Are we hoping that the 963 is sandbagging somehow and that they'll pull?
I would love for that, but I can pretty much guarantee you
that's not the case.
You don't sandbag for a 24-hour race.
Yeah.
No, I think they got still some working out to do. And then the GT3 Rs, which just did terrible at Daytona, they were just uncompetitive through. They've been giving a boost and balance of performance. So the air restrictor, which essentially limits power, has been wide and open. So they're going to hopefully have become more competitive at the 12-hour race. So at least,
and that's the thing about this the BOP. That what's winning the race? Is it the development on the car? Is it the BOP, or is it the driver?
We could probably argue this for forever, but I liked it in the old days, and I know I liked it because Porsche dominated so convincingly. They followed the rules or interpreted the rules to their favor, and from the organizing body's point of view, Porsche comes in and they can wipe out a series because they win all the time, and then the fans get tired of it, and they start not watching the series. That's what happened with Can-Am, and in fact, looking at Porsche's history at the Revs Institute, you could see where they just utterly dominated, and they didn't even have any 956, 962s, which was a whole nother era that they dominated, and the rules changed because of Porsche's domination. So even at Sebring, you look at the wall, they have all the winners along pit lane every year, and then the manufacturer, you can see just Porsche just utterly dominates. Yeah. So the balance of performance is there to try to even things out. And let's hope it starts to even out, and Porsche has at least we see some good racing, competitive racing. I think they want to see racing up until the end, because I've been to 24 Hours Daytona where they've had like 40 lap leads, so you're pretty much watching just to see them finish. But there's no way that anybody's going to be able to catch the person. Where I think with the NASCAR approach, where the last lap there could still be a different winner, that makes the fans interested.
Very cool. So you're our 963 expert in the office, and going down to Sebring, is your access going to change this time? Or you're able to get in a little bit closer?
Media pass.
Okay.
Sebring is I've never been to Sebring. It's old airfield that's flat. So it's
you haven't been to Sebring?
No, I said you haven't been to Sebring.
If you haven't.
Yep.
I raced there with club racing about 12 times.
Yeah.
And it was awesome because no one's there. No one comes to watch club racing. So you could pretty much, in between races, go out to watch other races and anywhere you wanted. The first time I went to the 12 hours, oh, my God. It was all of humanity was here. And you couldn't just walk up to the fence and watch because everyone was butted up to the fence with their RVs and their scaffolding. And unlike Daytona, where you have banking, or even Coda, where you have elevation changes and places to go watch, this is all flat.
You got to try to see over everything that's
the really cool thing is you Google old races from like the 60s. Sebring has changed a lot, and it used to be where drivers would get lost because you would race beyond these warehouses in the back part of the airfield. And I remember, I think Mario Andretti saying how by hour 5 or 6, all the cones would be knocked down, and you would suddenly find yourself behind like buildings and realizing you're not part of the race anymore.
Oh,
you've driven off track, and now you got to find your way back on the track. Yeah, I think it was called The Speed Merchant by Michael Kaiser. There's a VHS film, and they talk about it there. It was a much larger track. Now it's all lined with Jersey wall, so you can't get lost. But back in watching the old films, it's pretty awesome how long they've been racing at Sebring.
Very cool. All right, so let's talk about videos that will be dropping soon or recently dropped. I know we're going to have a fun session on Tech Tactics Live on March 22nd, Confessions of a Porsche Memorabilia Hoarder.
Yes, Prescott Kelly, one of the co-founders of the LA Lit and Toy Meet. Although I don't think that was the original name. I think it was the a Porsche and VW Toy and Literature Meet. I think that's what it was called originally, at least when I went. But now it's they ended up selling to a Stoddard, but Prescott's still very much involved, and he had we think he sold most of his collection, but he had one heck of a collection. We got to see part of it. I think
Prescott is probably the first person I met in the club that had some, like a big collection of not just toys, but like all literature, posters, cars. I mean, a pretty fulsome collection. And I think he has thinned out the herd, so to speak, but I'm sure he's got some treasures that he's going to share with us.
I remember telling his wife, I said, if you ever get mad at him and want to pay him back, just give us a call, and you can sell this stuff pennies on a dollar.
Yes, keep Manny away from your collection.
He had it was an incredible literature and memorabilia collection, so he's going to show us some valuable items, and
we're going to bring a couple of our stuff and see what he thinks, right?
And what's collectible now. What can you still collect and maybe worth something in the future, or be desirable in the future.
And if you have anything collectible, and if you're online with us that Wednesday, ask us and let us know, what collectibles you might be wondering if it has any particular value and or how rare it actually is. April 5th, we have another awesome Tech Tactics Live planned. Unfortunately, I won't be in the house for it.
This will be the first one that Vu Nguyen has not hosted.
I know, and I'm going to leave it in Manny's good hands.
I'm very nervous because I'm usually behind the scenes. I don't have to worry about remembering any of your remind you, thank this person. I'm going to need a Robert to hold a script for me.
There you go.
Yeah, Alwyn Springer's going to be great. He's coming out with a book called Racing with Porsche North America. And Alwyn Springer, it was funny because talking with Brian Redmond, while Damon was asking him questions, he brought up Alwyn Springer because Alwyn used to be a mechanic for Vasek Polak. And that's when the three technicians left Vasek and started Andal. And then he would go on to become president of Porsche Motorsports North America, and now a consultant. And the book, I can't wait to read the book.
Yeah.
It's got to be fascinating because every winning car, it seemed, from that era had the Andal sticker on it.
Yeah, and he's such a fan of PCA. We're so thankful that he's willing to take the time to come out and visit with us.
Coming out live in studio.
And I'm not going to be here.
I know.
I wanted to host him so bad, but again, I'll leave it in your good hands. We also dropped a few videos the past couple days. The Cayenne Platinum 1 mile review.
Yeah.
A bit of a new format, a little bit of a new extended
format
version, so to speak.
Yeah, extended. It's a little over 17 minutes. Spent probably 50% of that video talking about things that Nathan Mers talks about, or at least that's what I was aiming for, about historical context of the car, where it sits in the market. I went over all the options so you know exactly what I'm driving, and then I got into the drive and then into the ratings. So hopefully you guys like this format. I know it's a Cayenne Platinum, and the Cayenne Platinum may not be the most exciting car to debut a new series, but we have a 718 GT4, 981 GT4, 718 Cayman S, and
that'll be in a similar format.
718 Boxster GTS 4.0. 2 comparison videos with those 4 cars. So hopefully this next couple videos, which will be released on the 25th of March and then the 8th of April on Saturday, those 2 Saturdays, will maybe get a few more views, a few more comments, and you can let me know, are we doing an okay job with that?
Good.
Yeah, so those 2 videos, will be coming out at some point. We had the
Nathan
online Porsche inspections, which we had to take down after it was initially live for some reasons. Probably just, it's all good. We don't have to get into here. But it's up again. Everything is very relevant on this video if you're looking for a car, whether that's on an auction site, like Bring a Trailer, or you're perusing Craigslist, Facebook Marketplace, and you need the knowledge to look at a set of photos, look at the description, and read between the lines.
Exactly.
So you don't get duped.
And this is and Nathan's very good because he not only buys from Bring a Trailer, he sells on Bring a Trailer. So you want to talk to someone experienced about online auctions. He's a great person to put this presentation on.
Exactly. And all the skills or the techniques that he shares with you, it's for all online auctions, not just Bring a Trailer. As Damon said,
it's good stuff to do. You don't want to you want to look at these photos, even if it's not an auction, but you want to really look at the car and know what you're getting into, especially if you're paying a lot of money before you travel out to go see it.
Right.
For example.
And ask the right questions. And you can ask a lot of questions that can help, kick the car out, so to speak. If it's
so you're not wasting anybody's time.
So you're not wasting anybody's time. And what I always try to, instill in the seller, like when I'm looking into stuff is like, if I'm asking you this, that means someone else is going to ask you, and whatever we find out or whatever the truth is, you can use that to share with the next person, even if I don't buy it, right? So there's a lot of great information there. Speaking of great information, I want to first give kudos to Robert for capturing the session with Michael Tam, the deep dive on the GT3 RS. That was very cool. Sort of a new format that we've done. Manny wanted to record the Tech Tactics live session, and Robert was there, and he integrated the slides, and we had audio was fantastic, and I found it very enjoyable.
I was trying to avoid the camera and tripod recording the slideshow.
Yep.
But rather incorporate the slideshow so the person watching at home would have a clear image. You could actually freeze it and print out the screenshot if you wanted to. And this presentation is phenomenal. It's a presentation that Michael at the beginning says he's going to give to the journalist in a couple days from when he did it live. So it's a very, very thorough presentation, and enough to where I wrote an article for Tech Tips about more things we've learned about the GT3 RS, because he goes into the minutia. The thing you got to watch is the part about the steering wheel and how one button, you hit PASM, and it's just not PASM on or off.
Right.
By hitting PASM, it activates the 4 knobs and switches to suddenly of all the things you can adjust while you're driving. That's the best part.
Yeah. And think about this, just to go a little deeper, and how you can potentially mess up your settings. So you press PASM, and then one button is front rebound, one is front compression, then one is rear rebound, one is rear compression, which I'm only starting, after how many years, really starting to sort of get into and make work on my own car.
Right.
Oh, man. And I have to get under it and twist these little knobs, so it's a lot of power.
The one thing I will say is, if you are not a Michael Tam fan, after you watch this, you certainly will be a Michael. The dude knows his stuff, and it's great that he represents the U.S. market, and channels all of our requests back to AG, and things like this Heritage edition is because of him,
and the fact that we want manuals.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. The
big,
stats that he gives you on the manual take rate. I won't spoil it by telling you now, but if you watch it, he shares with you the manual take rate on some of these models.
And I will say he's watching this video, at least now that it's just been released. I haven't, been in contact with him, but sure enough, he's watching comments, as I know he does. Yeah. He is the North American or U.S. representative. I don't think that maybe YouTube has as much sway as a customer at Tech Tactics East would to ask him for something on a future car or feature he wants. But, comment on the video. He's probably reading, and all you commenters probably have some good ideas about what to include on future Porsches.
Absolutely.
But please, yes, we know the car's expensive. Yes, we know it's hard to get.
Yes.
It kills me that people think that Porsche should be the price like a Toyota. I always tell people the true entry-level Porsche is a used Porsche, and that varies according to your income. But you can get Boxsters very inexpensively if you really want to get into a Porsche.
I found you one on this week's Mart Fresh.
I won $97.99.
97
2.5.
Oh, you want Loan's car?
Yes.
with the stock engine.
With the stock engine. Okay. What's the one that I found? I found
It's an 01.
01. Okay.
Yeah.
But man, that was so. If you don't read Mart Fresh and eBreak News, the car that I'm talking about was, I think, a 2000 or 2001.
01.
Guards red, Boxster, fairly low miles, quite clean. Looked like it was well taken care of, and that car was 11.2.
Yeah, the cars are so. I mean, they're out there. So
11.2.
when I read comments about, Porsche, you're losing your. I like the ones that say you're losing your market, and I'm like, have you seen the annual report?
Yeah,
they're not losing anything.
They can charge more. And
yeah,
they
exactly.
Don't.
And, the fact that you think they're expensive, that might be a personal choice or thought. But if you're an enthusiast, if you want a Porsche, you can get into a Porsche. It's a used Porsche, but that's the fact. Our club knows that most of our members who join, their first Porsche is a pre-owned used Porsche.
And a perfect example of that is, remember you know him, the barista at the coffee shop where we used to have
Nathan,
the podcast recording. Like, he was an enthusiast and started listening to us and starts hunting for his first Porsche. He's probably early 20s, and got his very first Boxster. And so there's one for every budget. The key thing is to buy the right one, and we have the resources.
I'm convinced that the people that just comment so negatively on YouTube have miserable lives.
They just want to be miserable.
Just must be really tough walking around like that, so miserable.
Yes, let's not. So let's get into Porsche news, and this one here is one of the things that I love about Porsche, specifically Porsche Classic. Is
if there's a buck to be made, God bless them, they know how to make it.
They are going to make it so that we can buy it. And so if you're in the market for a magnesium crankcase, lo and behold, Porsche Classic has it for you.
Just what I needed.
And I mean, that's actually pretty cool that because that's all we've ever said was, why doesn't Porsche make new engine cases? And
there you go.
So I'm just waiting for the 3.6s to come out. Then I will sleep better at night knowing that.
You all ask, now buy them.
Right? And buy them. Exactly. And what other car manufacturers supporting their classic cars like Porsche and at the volume that
and no, I don't know the price, but I can guarantee you it's not going to be as cheap as you can buy one in a junkyard, a used one.
No.
But the fact of the matter, you can buy a brand new factory fresh that's authorized and done with the same castings and everything as the original. That's pretty awesome.
So the next news item you have listed here was kind of interesting, and it has to do with the T-Rex livery.
Oh yeah, that's very cool, and Kevin Jeanette's behind this too. It's going to be racing at the 12 Hours of Sebring. It's what I like, and I wish they would have done differently, is the little arms from the T-Rex. I wish they would have had it grabbing the door handle.
Oh, that
because it's ahead of the door handle. See the little arms on the side. Yeah. It's it's a T-Rex. It's for the kids.
Yep.
So it's very cool livery.
I
can't wait to get it.
Love
I
it.
would buy a 1/18 scale model of that car because it looks so awesome.
That should slide right into the PCA youth program.
The wheels matching, everything's very well done on this delivery of this car. I'm sure if you type in Porsche T-Rex, you're going to come up with this GT3 R that's going to debut.
So at Amelia Island Works reunion, Michael Tam pulled up in a Cayenne with the Porsche tent on top of it, and he opened it up and shared it with us, and it was very cool. I don't see myself particularly needing one or using one. I don't know where. I don't go camping or anything like that. But for those of you that consider that is probably a bit, I didn't
like it because two of us couldn't share a tent because we exceed the weight limit. We found out.
Sure you could.
I was happy that you could not share that tent with me. But if you're looking for more room, more capacity, Porsche has something for you. And it's this Airstream travel trailer.
Yeah, they designed. It's pretty slick looking. Everyone knows Airstream. They're pretty
that is the
easily
most
recognizable.
luxurious accommodations to tow behind. That thing looks crazy cool.
Yeah, and it's just not the body. They changed the suspension. It's it still has the Airstream. It's like basically a futuristic looking
Airstream.
Yeah, and I think the fact that you have the Porsche design cred behind it.
Yeah, I mean, it totally looks like a Porsche design product. I mean, the way they, smooth out the lines and the futuristic, as you said, and it has like this tailgating option that just, flips out in the back, and you can sit in probably, Porsche type seats and stuff. Yeah, very sleek and cool design. But hopefully we get to see one. Maybe someone will tow one to Works or tow one to Parade. I'd love to see it.
I think it'd be perfect for a PCA Mobile Command headquarters.
You need to sleep in it if we're going to afford it. All right, so upcoming PCA events, April 5th, Porsche Parade Phase 2 registration.
Yes, so hopefully you're registered for Parade and you have already started looking at what you can do at Parade as far as, I think my wife's coming out to this parade because she took a look at all the pools they have there. So she says you wouldn't leave the pool area. But there's obviously a lot more to do than just the pools, tours, competitive events, banquets. All that, knowing ahead of time what you're going to choose will make your life easier when you go to Phase 2.
Absolutely.
Phase 1 was easy. You just gave them your name, your credit card, and they gave you a hotel code, and off you were done. This one's a little bit more involved and takes longer. Yeah.
Figure that stuff out first.
Exactly. It'll just make your life so much easier because you can ask questions ahead of time and be prepared versus looking at it for the first time when registration opens, because the tours will sell out. They always sell out, and you don't want to be stuck out and trying to find tours afterwards at the hospitality area.
So this next link you listed, I'm not even sure I know what this is. Or maybe it's just titled.
I've been to one of these. I've been Spring Thing 2016.
Oh, yeah. So I always try to find interesting regional events.
Okay. Gotcha.
This is in the Smoky Mountains.
Oh, nice driving roads.
Yeah, in Tennessee. It's a great multi-event weekend. So where you have different things going on over a weekend. If you don't belong to Smoky Mountain, you can still come to the event as long as you're a PCA member. They do Concord, Gimmick Rally. They do Tour. And then autocross. It's multi-event weekends used to be like a huge thing in PCA, and they kind of died out a little bit. But there's still some like the Chesapeake Challenge that still goes on. It's a great way to meet new people and just enjoy your car in a fairly low pressure atmosphere. Yeah, there's competitive events, but you're doing it for fun. And
if you go to PCA's YouTube channel, I actually attended a Spring Thing back in 2016. As part of a video that I was doing. And the video on our channel is called It's Not Just the Cars, It's the People.
Oh,
it's a very general sort of video about, things you can do and why to join PCA. And you'll see quite a few shots of the Spring Thing there.
The one thing that you'll come away with by watching that video is the camaraderie. You can totally see the camaraderie at that event.
Yep.
And then we have a club race at Road Atlanta coming up as well.
Yes, that's even if I think they allow spectators or PCA members to come watch. Club racing's great, especially at Road Atlanta. Peach State Region does a phenomenal job of putting this event on. And if you don't know any better, you think it's a pro event. From the amount of transporters that are there and cup cars, it's pretty legit when it comes to club racing. And it's all Porsche. That's all they allowed to run is Porsche. So if you're not doing anything that weekend, give them a call. I'm sure they would love to help if you want to volunteer.
All right. So again, just from the top is, if you would love to see what what started it all for you in the comment section. If you could share a photo or even words of what car or toy or whatever that started you down this automotive path, please do so, because I'd like to maybe bring that up in the next podcast. But for other than that, thanks for listening. If you aren't currently a PCA member and own a Porsche, what are you waiting for? Grab that VIN and we'll get you signed up. For those of you that don't currently own a Porsche, check out the test drive program. Just go to pca.org. Remember to follow our podcast Instagram page, see behind the scenes photos and videos. Porsche Club Insider, all one word. And if you want to shoot us a note, podcast@pca.org. Until next time, stay safe, and we'll catch you down the road.